Hello and welcome to the Global Goddess Fest, where men and women are tuning in from around the world to receive education, connect with global leaders, and gain inspiration on living the life of their dreams.
Mm.
So excited to have Elana Meta here. Welcome.
Thanks, babe.
And
So
you are
glad to be
tuning
here.
in from Hawaii right now.
I am in Hawaii. I live in LA, but yeah, in Hawaii for 3 weeks, and it's been such a gift.
And so you have some friends in the background that are hanging out and
Yeah,
doing
there's
their
a
work.
group of us here at our friend Colin's house. He just bought a beautiful piece of land, and we are building on it. And we just started building yesterday, and so we did such a beautiful prayer and brought natives in from originals from Hawaii and did a blessing in all the corners and the directions. It was just so beautiful.
Wow, powerful. I definitely have some questions about that. That sounds
Mhm.
incredible. But to introduce you to all of our viewers, um, Elana is a dance catalyst, teacher, and creative, like she said, based in Los Angeles. She's also the founder of Wild Vessel, which is an event series designed to redefine the feminine voice in modern society. She's also created Meta Method, which is a movement technique that uses the natural elements to advance emotional intelligence and
Mm.
well-being. She's also, at the end of this, she's going to be giving all the viewers a free gift of a 15-minute movement meditation. So definitely check that out. It's incredible work that she's doing and will really help you just like get into your body in a super juicy way.
Mm. Thanks,
Uh,
babe.
yeah, and you've performed around venues such as Red Rocks, Amphitheater, and Lincoln Center, along with artists such as Beyonce, Glitch Mob, Michael Franti, and Nako. So doing some pretty awesome stuff.
I feel like I've lived many lives already.
Good. Lots of wisdom to
Mhm.
share then.
Mhm.
And you've also led workshops on the Wanderlust Tour, at Esalen, Summit Series, Burning Man, and her main mission is to tap people into their bodies and create spaces globally for women to feel safe and empowered. So happy that you're
Is
here.
that my bio?
Yeah. You're like, is that me?
Amazing.
I love it, and I'm just so happy that you're here. And I think you really do embody such a beautiful leadership quality, um, about really just like getting into our bodies and how much magic there is in this vessel that we have here.
Mm.
So super incredible stuff. And so kind of, you talk about these natural elements in your dance practice. And then you were just talking about, you're at your friend's place helping build. And so how have you been inspired? What was the inspiration that you got to bring in these natural elements? Like, does it come from your childhood or
Well, I mean, the natural elements, they're just so accessible, I feel. They are in us, they are everything around us. It is what we are made of. And it just feels like a very universal type of way for us to all relate to one another. There's so many different cultures and religions that connect to the elements, but what does it look like when we remove any of those? Not, and like paying homage and deep respect to all the cultures and lineages and the ancestors that have brought the elements to where we can now access them now. But while acknowledging all of that, how do we then create the elements as a bridge to get more people to experience them? And that's what I feel like the movement is, a conduit. It's so capable of giving people that tool and access point to actually experience what the elements may feel, look like inside of their own bodies and their own vessel, like you said. So, when we're working with the element of fire, when it comes to movement, it's very intense in the body, getting up like the blood pressure in the heart. And then with water, it's about restoring the body and moving the spine and the hips. And then earth is about grounding, so that might have more technique or strength training and stretching. And then air is more spontaneous movements, letting yourself like almost blow aimlessly in the wind and like flashes and jumps and playing with different speed. And it's really just to see that we are capable to be all of these elements, be all of these archetypes, all these personalities that we are in our bodies. And so when we also pay deep respect to the directions, all the elements live in the directions, and depending on the medicine wheel that you're working with, and also a different geographic location where the elements are placed on the medicine wheel can always vary. But the east is the fire, the rising sun. And so we went into that direction and asked the ancestors if we could build on the land. And then to the south, the element of water. And then same to the west, which is the earth and the setting sun. And then the north, the air. And it's just beautiful to see that that it is available for all of us to connect to, and it doesn't have to be a woo-woo thing. It doesn't have to be anything that's the woo-woo, the hippie, any culture, religion. Like we can rip off all that, and we can just identify the elements as our own. And that's what I continue to pay a deep love and respect to, and why I choose to meet them every day.
And when you're kind of talking them in the context of dance, in terms of like your specific leadership in your business, have you been able to bring those elements in? And like, maybe if you could give us a few examples of how those elements relate to your business.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you. So I see the elements also as a cycle that we go into. So the fire is like that spark and that vision. And right when Wild Vessel came through me as a vision in February, so I've been in this 9-month process because we just launched it a few weeks ago. And we're sold out. It's amazing. And that vision had so much fire. It was, spreading it, letting people know that it was happening, and what do we need to do? Go, 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 go. Very like thinking and bringing that vision to life. And with that, also with water, allowing things that maybe were in the way for this vision to come to life, and letting them go. And right, like this vision, when it came in, I did not have space for it. I felt like I was up to the brim. I was capped. Right. So how did I like release and wash away what no longer serves me to actually fill up new space and new room for myself to be filled up with the element of water, to have the emotional capacity to be able to hold Wild Vessel. And once I was able to let go of all the other things, like I was doing certified tantric sex coaching course, which I'm still doing, but my availability and the 30-hour work week that I was committing to that originally kind of had it, right? Same with Meta Method, which is the dance and the natural elements, which, I've done online courses and all those different things. But to really just put that to the side for Wild Vessel. And then that's when the element of earth came in, where it's like, okay, what are all the logistics and tangible things that need to be done? Who are the people that we need to hire? Who are the people who need to pay? Where are we having the space and locating it and grounding all that in, and people understanding their positions? And I'd say we definitely spent most of our time in the element of earth, of grounding it. And then air was the event, whereas like we can't be attached to what it's going to look like. We can't grip onto any of it. We just have to trust that it's going to blow in the wind however it wants to, trusting that we grounded it as much as possible. And in that, we get to come to this space, which I call like the meta, where we can then just completely observe and see what has happened on the other side of that, right? Because almost the meta is like the restorative side. It wasn't like right the day after the event, I was back in the fire. No, but I'm in this like tranquility, equanimous type space after. So, and the cycle goes again, where I feel we're starting to get back into our fire, where we're now, going for funding, and I'm stepping into CEO, and like all of these, like becoming a businesswoman. I had no idea this would be the thing, but it's so beautiful. So I'd say that is how the elements have definitely been infused into the business framework thus far.
Beautiful. And I feel like when we are able to tap into these natural elements and call them into business, this is like a totally new way of creating business. in this new paradigm that we're wanting to create, you know, and being able to like honor and respect each of those elements, instead of kind of either always be like grounding or always like fire, go, 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 you know, calling in these different qualities is such a beautiful example of your leadership. And
thank you. If we brought fire to the event, it wouldn't have been what we wanted it to be, you know, and because Wild Vessel is essentially creating a safe space for women to unleash their inner wildness, for men to understand the feminine and to not fear it, for women to not fear it, to actually feel the strength and power of that side. And in that, safety, like energetically, the environment, emotionally, all of it, women need to feel safe. And if we came with that go, go, go fire and like more of a masculine type of framework, it wouldn't have been as accessible if all of us were hands off, because we knew that we were just able to hold like the airy space of it. That makes sense.
Totally. Yeah. So what, I guess let's like backtrack a little.
Yeah, totally.
Our viewers are like, what the heck is Wild Vessel?
Wild Vessel?
Yeah. We like dove right in. I love it.
So Wild Vessel, and I'm going to back up a little bit. So I moved to LA 2 years ago, and on a weekly basis since I moved there, on Wednesdays, we call them Wild Wednesdays, been gathering women in mine and Seth, my partner's home. And it was beautiful to see my fear first of connecting and feeling seen in my power in front of women. I was always afraid to do that because I never wanted to come off intimidating or thinking that I was better than anybody, and if I said something wrong and people taking it the wrong way, or cattiness, like all these scars from middle school, high school that, you know, are still seated in me, but like wanted to share and connect with women. And in the vulnerability of sharing my fears with that, but doing it anyway, and meeting the women there, I watched any layers of competition, any insecurities, any judgments that we had starting to release, and we started to connect and be vulnerable. Women that never thought that they'd share, of whether it's, you know, things within their relationships, whether they cheated or someone cheated on them and they're staying with them anyway, or they need a breakup and they need that support, or things around their parents, or their insecurities about themselves. Like all of this stuff just started to come up. And in that, we started to feel this like pack, like this wild pack together, and this safety. And we kept showing up. We had hundreds of women coming through my door, but like a solid core of this community. And once the vision of Wild Vessel came in, which was creating an immersive experience for not only women, but also men to empower the feminine. And after doing these small little circles, the vision was like, do it big, we got you. And I was like, okay. And we did it in LA. And I got to see these women step up in leadership roles that I'm still blown away by, of what we all together created. And this was a co-collaborative effort, and was not able to be done without every single woman that contributed, including yourself. And it was just, the vision feels so much larger than all of us, of really creating safe spaces to see who we are, sharing our emotions, sharing our vulnerability, and doing it in like a sexy but not sexual type of environment that really like almost seduces that, like those vulnerable insecurity things out of us. And yeah, what was so beautiful, it was a 9-month process. So almost feeling like there was this birth, we called it our soul baby, because, you know, it was an energy, and it birthed 9 months later. So maybe 9-month cycles aren't always human. Sometimes they could just be beautiful ideas. So November 18th, we had our first one, 200 women and 50 men. And we sold out, and it went seamless for our first event, and it's the first of many. And our big vision is to start doing Wild Vessel experiences all around the world, and have regionals, and have different producers as community leaders, and then eventually even get actual properties where we have our own residence, and it'll be co-working spaces for women, and have daycare centers so women can bring their children, but also like where our practitioners that are there can also serve and support their clients and things like that. So yeah.
Amazing. Oh, thank you for sharing and recapping for everyone that's watching. And it's cool to kind of see the cycles of how that came to be. And I guess one question for you, like, was there a certain incident or like a spark that, like, where did the whole idea of Creative Vessel come from?
An orgasm.
Yes.
Fully. Yep. I was in New York with Seth and had an orgasm, and at the climax right after it, Wild Vessel was the vision that came to life. And we still laugh about it, because again, right, with that 9-month cycle, literally like that orgasm, it felt like information distilled into my body. And I was, after that, on the other side, I was holding something and it felt like a responsibility. And it's like, you have all of the tools, Elana, to bring this into the world. Why? Because you're going to not make it about you. And I just felt that, and it's like, okay, and here we go. And it's just been so beautiful, and it's a challenge every single day, because I have to be in integrity and authentic in how I'm showing up in my leadership, and especially like personally in my day-to-day life, especially when nobody's looking, like, who am I? And all of these things, it's just like bird's eye view constantly to see the meta picture of what this is that so many of us are holding together. Because my dream about what Wild Vessel is when people ask, who's leading this? The answer to be all of us.
Ooh, I just got goosebumps. And it's so true. This is definitely a full movement, and there's going to be so many leaders. I think that's why there's this like awesome trend to empower other people to be leaders, right? Because it's like, come on, like, start leading your people and tell them to lead, because really we all just need to come up and really like step up to the plate and have this sense of responsibility. I like how you said that. Like, all of a sudden you're holding this thing and it's bigger than yourself. And I think that's a really beautiful thing to like recognize, and also like a driving force to move forward.
Yeah.
What would
something
you say?
that Well, just quickly, something around that I always check in on, and this was part of the leadership training that the men in Wild Vessel got, is what makes men. The men are called protectors, the women are called wild ones. So what makes a man a protector? And I use that same ethos with myself. It's about empowering my 3 abilities: responsibility, accountability, and vulnerability.
Yeah, very, very important. You kind of mentioned, it's definitely a challenge. Not like, oh, I had this great idea from an orgasm, so now it's all going to work out and everything's just going to come together. What have been like some of those challenges that you're facing?
The first one I would say is my relationship, because, he didn't ask for that. And, I was okay holding it, and he holds me a lot of the time. So to kind of have this new thing, and him feeling like he's very involved, and we live together. So it was almost, there came a point where we were crying, we were in nature, and I just apologized. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I know that you did not ask for this. He's right there. And both of us just really seeing that and accepting it. And he continues to trust me and believe and see and understand and hold. And even in that, it's been a lot, because it is not a small vision and it takes up a lot of space. And what he's doing is also incredible and takes up space. So just to have like these 2 startups being built in the same home. It's almost like pushing each other, like, like make room. So that's kind of been our challenge and our dynamic. And yeah, and we've had, some beautiful struggles. Like there's a lot of times where like we both want to like go to bed or like make love, but at the end of the day we just like meet each other in bed. We're like high five. Good night. So that's definitely the first one. But again, we're so aware of it, and we're constantly committed to doing the work and deepening our dynamic and the commitment that we have consistently every single day, choosing one another to know that this is also part of it and navigating. So not taking it for granted.
Yeah, definitely. Beautiful example of the internal work, and then the process of finding this unity of masculine and feminine, and those relationships. I think it's one of the toughest things in most people's lives.
Yeah.
So thanks for being vulnerable and sharing that with us.
Totally. And it is really challenging. I remember so many strong moments of feeling like, can I be in a relationship while be the woman I know I'm here to be? Like, am I going to be tied down? Can I like put myself out there as big as I feel that I am while being in a relationship? And before this one, I was like, nope, I can't. And I always felt like I had to compare the woman I knew I was becoming to the woman I was then in that relationship, and not being able to connect the dots. I didn't feel like I could have both. And I also feel like, thinking of that now, the advice I would have given myself is like, trust that I can have both, and letting life play out, because it has brought me here to the place where I know that I can have both, and I'm committed to making sure that I have both.
Thanks for sharing that. I love that. So, so what's next? What's next for you?
We are building the foundation of Wild Vessel. Instead of, our next event is February 17th in LA. So anyone tuning in, please go to wildvessel.com and fill out an application. And yes. And before we even get there, we are making sure that our foundation is completely set. So knowing all of the co-founders, who our partners are, who's on the executive team, the ESOP, getting loans and investments and what that all looks like, and really seeing that when we do this now, that foundation is going to set us up for all the things that are going to come. So it's like, say this explodes, or it's a slow process, everybody knowing their position, everybody feeling valued, being fully in integrity about, legal documents and all that stuff. So just making sure that is all happening now. So that's what my Christmas, New Year's, December, January looks like right now. And I couldn't be more grateful to be in this process. I feel so supported and held, and, I'm a dancer. I love to dance. I love to move my body. And at the same time, I find myself in front of the computer every day more and more, having conversations, having meetings, and also needing to get to a place every day and accepting that this is where I am. This is part of it. To love the things that are harder, that we struggle with even more than the things that I enjoy. And just knowing, like, here I am. And here I am. Working every day remotely in paradise. So
incredible. And so did you have business background before this?
None. I am learning as I go. And the key that I'm learning is that I don't have to know everything. That it's actually better for me to say, I don't know, let me ask someone on the team or someone around me that may know if someone has a question, rather than trying to like talk my way of like, I know what I'm talking about. It's not gonna, it doesn't work. and there's power in being curious, being vulnerable, being raw and available to learn rather than being a know-it-all. So the responses that I've been getting and why I feel like I'm getting mentored right now is because I am very receptive in saying, I don't know, and I'm available to learn, rather than like, I got this. Let me figure it out. Because I can't. I don't. Yeah. So yeah, no business mind. Numbers, like, can't count past 10.
You seem really grounded, and so you're like thrown into this whole new essential like industry and like learning and bringing people together and leading, and yet like here you are, you know, and I've shared wonderful time with you, and you're always very like grounded in who you are and what you're doing. What would be some tools and tips that you have for our viewers or anyone that's, you know, wanting to maybe make a big impact like what your vision is?
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you. A morning practice. When I get to start every single day with checking in with myself, who I am, how I'm feeling, what I want to do in that day, and why I choose to do it, and connecting to my larger commitment and purpose. And I say that in a mantra, like, I practice for the sake of being an embodied commitment to. And then for you, it could be whatever, you know, to loving myself, to loving life, to committing to teaching, blah, 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 you know. And from there, I'm moving my body and then meditating. And for anybody, it can be whatever you want as a morning practice. But like, what is that opening and what is that closing? And I open with my commitment and my purpose, and I close with a gratitude. And so much can happen in between, right? You can write, you can listen to an audiobook, you can just read, you can dance, meditate, do qigong, like go swimming. I don't know, you know, so it's really everybody. And that's kind of what the Meta method for me has really transitioned into is, you know, I dance the elements in the morning, and it's a supportive way to connect to myself, the elements that live in my body, the energy of fire, water, earth, and air. And on a sensational level, those are the 4 sensations that we have that actually live in our body. Vipassana teaches that. So when you get to that very microscopic, subconscious, sensational awareness in the body, that's when you can feel the different sensations in the body, and they are the elements, and they talk about that. So to be doing the practice and then hear that, I was like, aha! So yeah, a morning practice. And I practice right now, at least here, it's 2.5 hours. But I have done practices, like I have a beautiful practice that I call 10-15-5, 10 minutes of meditation, 15 minutes of movement, and 5 minutes of writing. I also love to do an hour practice that feels like really good. But yeah, to check in with who we are being at the beginning of the day is tremendous. Because no matter how much work that I'm doing and like building this business, like, don't forget this. You can't. Because this is the one that's steering. And if we forget that, it's like, yeah.
It's true. And so like you've done a lot of touring, bringing your workshops places and performing all around. How are ways that you were able to keep up that grounding practice while being in so many different locations?
10-15-5. Yeah. And the movement practice, my morning practice really distilled itself. It became something that I shared after the tour, because that's when it was really created. I was like, I will go insane if I don't have control over one piece of my day. You know, like I could not, like, I'm totally cool to go with the flow, but when everything is kind of flowing on everybody else's speed and like being pulled, like, all right, we got to go like this, and we're moving super slow and I want to go faster, and it's like not my choice. That's when I can start getting like really agitated and frustrated, and I can feel nerves in me boiling. And when having a practice in the morning, it helps me remember my flow, what my body feels good at its pace and moving, and to just gift that to myself on tour first thing in the day, even if it was just a little bit, just be like, hi, I'm here, and like touch myself, like, oh my gosh, everybody, I want you to just do this right now. Just like hold yourself and like stroke your shoulder and your arm, and maybe use your little finger and say hello, hi, you're doing so good. You're doing so good. I love you. Thank you. And kiss yourself and say hi. Like that does wonders for me, at least, just to like get there.
Totally.
So yeah, if I didn't do that, yeah, touring was hard. I had to do that.
Yeah. And so, like, with all of this, did you have like a crucible moment or story? Crucible meaning like the place where iron is forged into steel, where you're in the fire and in like in a valley moment, in a dark part of your life that kind of gave you a light or like a little awakening to be like, okay, I have to start like empowering women. I have to get into my body. I have to start loving myself on a bigger level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, several in my life.
Do you have one that sticks out, like the biggest one?
It depends on time frame. I can shortly share two. When I was 14 years old, my best friend Craig, he was 17, and he got in a car accident on his way picking me up and died right outside around the corner from my home. And that really started my spiritual journey and awakening of really like becoming independent. I already was, but I got deeper permission within that and the people that showed up for me. And I now see that just like he was an angel for me in so many ways. So that, and then when I was 20, I was in already at the time a year and a half abusive relationship. He was very violent more to himself, but very emotionally violent and threatening his life, my life, all these things. And I didn't know how to leave because at the same time I loved him so much. And it was one of those things where it was like Hyde Jekyll, is that what it is? Jekyll and Hyde, where it's like that other personality, right? Jekyll and Hyde, yeah. It's literally who I felt like I was dating. It was someone that like, oh my God, like our bodies, our souls just met. And then there's another thing, I look in his eyes, I was like, it is not you. Holy shit. And that person was violent. And, I'd say like I was raped several times in that relationship. Just by like, how do I even speak here? Because I'm afraid for my life if I do. And then when he put his hands on me and tried to kill me once we broke up, I got a restraining order from him. And 3 months later, I moved out of New York. And I never really went back. And what's really interesting, I went to New York and my family's there, so I go back, but like I was like, not like, hey, I'm going on tour and I'm moving back to New York. It's like moving to LA. And I didn't realize how much momentum that gave me until, kind of stopping the brakes and looking now at what that did to really bring me to now. But when I went back to New York for Halloween, I wanted to go to a party with all of my friends, and he was DJing. And I was like, and I chose not to go, of course. But it's one of those things I was like, even maybe he won't even see me, right? But just like that energetic frame to even be in that room and maybe dancing to the music he's playing, I was like, absolutely not. And I was like, all my friends that I had planned to, go to New York to go to Halloween and celebrate with, I chose not to. And I went to bed early and it was all perfect. And I was really proud of myself. But that sparked a lot in me of like, this is why I left the city. And this is so much of my spark of what I choose to do now, of making sure that women feel safe to use their voices, to have each other if things like this happen. and really seeing the importance of sisterhood and community, and being able to have support when getting out of these types of relationships, because I didn't feel like I had the support around me that, or the safety to even share what was happening with women or men, especially even my family in my life, you know. And I was ashamed in so many ways. So I never want another woman to go through that, or I want to make sure that she has that support that is available for her.
Yeah, very important. And thank you for sharing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think,
and then just to share, just after that, you know, I went celibate for 2 years, and then I met, and I cleared so much out. I remember just like clearing off all of this darkness, and of course I called it in, right? So I take full responsibility as much as like what happened in the dynamic, because I have to. If I gave it all to him, I would still hold like pain in these ways, like I wouldn't be able to let it go. But because it's like I own this experience 100%, it's like not mine, done. Yeah, when I was, I guess 23, I met Zach, who was my beautiful partner for 3 years. And you know, I was pretty much touring that whole time. And I'd say like another shift that happened was right after Burning Man in 2006, and we were kind of back and forth. It wasn't really like feeling it fully anymore. But I felt this deep calling to do a vision quest. And I started preparing for it, and I did a vision quest in Big Sur for 4 days and 4 nights with 3 gallons of water, a yoga mat, and a knife. And I made a medicine wheel, and I sat in it for 4 days. And I meditated, and I moved a little bit, but you know, I was very strict with myself of don't speak, no reading, no writing, like save everything, almost like a Vipassana style of just be here. And on the other side, I saw Zach. Once I came down the mountain, my friend Cody brought me up the mountain and back down. He's incredible. But then I saw Zach, and I remember us making love, and I was different. I was a woman. And there was something in me. I was like, oh, you're not going to last here much longer. Like I had this, like, I own this place now. And less than 3 weeks later, I'd say even 2 weeks later, I met Seth right when I moved to LA, and it was like instant. And when we met, of course, I had to tell Zach and let him know that someone came in very strong. And he was like, okay, cool, do your thing. He didn't really bother about it. We were kind of in an open relationship, and very, very quickly it became very clear that I knew where I was walking towards. And to finish up the tour with Wanderlust in Australia, New Zealand, and Costa Rica, Seth came with me, and I moved in right after. And we've been together for 2 years.
So beautiful. Wow. And what inspired the Vision Quest? Like, did you read a book about that, or had you been talking to other people that had done something similar?
Well, being connected to the Native American medicine wheel and the elements, and knowing so much about Vision Quest, feeling like there was definitely a deeper layer in which I wanted to face within myself. And psychedelics and things like that are cool, but that's not that's not my path and necessarily direction of enlightenment. And I love the substance-free access points to get there, and to drop deeper into the lineages that the Native American culture has to offer, and really being able to be on land and with myself in a way where there was nobody else around. It just knowing about it and thinking about it was like, this is what I am meant to do right now in my life. And once that idea came, it was almost like, right, wild vessel. It was like, oh, responsibility. Taking it and holding it and bringing it to life. And I guess I'm very diligent with my visions. Being a soccer player and dancer, really making visions tangible into action. So when I have something and it feels like very clear, it's like, all right, I'm going to take this. So the vision quest was like that. Right after Burning Man, I was like, go.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
One last question.
Yeah, Mama.
Who would you say is one of your biggest inspirations?
Well, the first person that came to mind is Seth, but I was like, I want to think of somebody else, but I'm not going to. I can definitely say, like, love my parents so much. So grateful for them. But I'm blown away at the man that Seth is, truly. The way that he held me while I was kicking and screaming, comparing, judging, grieving around my relationship with Zach for pretty much a year of our relationship, to see the strength and responsibility he took to be able to hold me in that, and to see the man that he constantly chooses to challenge himself to be just by being with me is unbelievable. So I just get to see him every single day stepping up his game, and I'm just like, what? Like, what? And so that's what's very real and dear to my heart. So, you know, keeping my inspiration and superhero that I value so much close to home.
Like, sit right here. Come be right next to me.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, thank
best
you.
Friend, and and the person that supports me feeling completely free, and I'm able to leave and come whenever, forever, as I please.
It's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your drive and your love. You know, I can feel it, and I know everyone that's watching can feel it too. So it's a beautiful movement that you are helping move forward. And I know that I'm here to support, and so many other viewers. So anyone that's watching, you'll be able to find all of the connections and websites and stuff like that through the Goddess Fest, and we'll definitely let you know how you can get in touch and get involved with this movement. It's definitely a special one to be a part of.
I love you.
I love you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in, and I hope we can stay connected after this.
Yes. Oh, and one other thing that I mentioned in the beginning, you will be able to receive a 15-minute free movement practice. So definitely grab that. It's a beautiful practice. You can even turn it into your morning practice and test out some stuff in your body and start developing that for yourself.
Right. And there's Wild Vessel, but also the Meta Method. So if you want more practices and things like that, I have some beautiful offerings on my website, right? You just connect it, but it's mymetamethod.com. And there's also free workbooks of like how to actually start your own practice. So there's guides around that. So beautiful little like nuggets for you to take for yourself. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you all next time.
Bye.